Greetings, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our podcast today, the Science of Farming podcast. We're so happy to be able to welcome you all today. And as usual, we'll open up in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. I want to greet each of you in the greeting words of peace and paradise of Assalamu alaikum. Praise be to Allah. Yes,
Walaikum salam.
ma'am. Sister Melody and Brother Eric. Brother Eric, so happy to have you here with us. What we're going to do is our general opening this afternoon, this evening, excuse me. So we're going to welcome everyone here. As you all come in, we'll see the greetings that start to post. And just know in advance, we'll return to the greetings of Assalamu alaikum. I do want to remind us why we even do this podcast. And it's strictly because we want to encourage everyone to do what our beloved minister, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, has asked us to do, which is to grow our own food. And I say this on every show. We can all bear witness that the food supply definitely has deteriorated to where it's barely even giving us any nutrition in our bodies. And also, I love to even do this show because the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan told us, he said he gives us the news before it actually hits. So years ago, the minister asked us to grow our own food. And I thank Allah that Sister Melody and I have an opportunity to even host this type of show to encourage the believers to do the same, whether large or small. If you're intimidated, because gardening can be a little overwhelming at times, start small in little pots. So for now, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to turn it over to Sister Melody to do the introduction. Go ahead, Sister Melody.
Wow, me, I get honored to introduce my brother from New York, my hometown, and I haven't heard from him in a while, but just to see some of the things that he will be sharing with us today, I'm super, super excited and happy to see you, Brother Eric. So you can go ahead and, share what you like to share about yourself and how you got started.
First of all, thank you for having me on the show. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Brother Eric Muhammad. I was spiritually born in number 7 in New York. Grew up in 7C as well as 7, and now I'm here in the Study Group 22, Muhammad Study Group 22 in Pittsburgh. And the terrain is obviously totally different from New York City. However, I this farming thing and growing, it's not as complicated as some may see, and it's actually therapeutic. I mean, it can give you a sense of peace, and there's something about the joy of serving, but also nurturing as well. It gives us brothers a little peek into what you sisters do naturally when you're growing and you're inspecting things. I had no idea I was going to do what I did. I grew a garden several years, decades ago. And life and time, you get so busy and changes come in. And I've been seeing people online and I know what the instructions are. And I wasn't facilitated to really grow a garden. I've seen people in the city growing their stuff out of tires and all kind of buckets. However, I wasn't motivated. But I have to give a shout out to Sister Tara in Brooklyn 7C and her husband, may Allah be pleased with him, Brother Suleiman. She grew a garden in the back, and that got my juices flowing. So I was like, you know what, I gotta do something. But the property we have, my wife and I share, is in Pittsburgh. We were in New York, so it wasn't feasible to do the garden that I used to do. So then I came to Pittsburgh. When we came to Pittsburgh, it was totally a different reason. I was doing renovation, and I kept seeing people, and I kept, everybody's pounding, grow your own food. And the wiser I got, the more information I got on how disastrous the food we consume, the more it inspired me. Then I saw my brother, student regional minister Arthur, and I went to his home, and I was like, oh man, I got to do this. He's really, you may want to reach out to him. He was really putting it in, and he's been doing it for a few years. I'm sure you saw him on social media. And I stopped in the middle I stopped right in the middle of construction, and I said, you know what? Told my wife, I said, and my wife, she wasn't used to having a garden, but my mother-in-law, she always used to compost, and all this stuff started coming up in a compost. Everything that we eat. And people get excited about growing a garden. However, what they don't do is, you go to the Home Depot or Lowe's, you see something that, oh, I want to buy a tomato plant, or you buying something that you don't even really eat, and you just excited that you grew something, that you produced something. But this, I was being more realistic. I shop at Whole Foods, I buy organic food, so I'm like, I need to do something about that produce bill. so, so all of this stuff started popping up from the compost. Everything we eat, butternut squash, spaghetti squash, tomatoes, peppers, but it wasn't organized. So it, I think you have one of the pictures laid out. I got one of the brothers who was helping me out with the landscaping, and he rototilled the area out for me. Now, when you start, if you have any land on your property, you have to be aware of what your the animals that you have around here. I mean, we got deer in Pittsburgh, like they got rats in New York, and man, they will wipe your garden out in one night. So I had to put up fencing, netting, and then I saw something on social media. I had a very simple layout, and you can see where my wife was laying down uh, the ground netting to keep the from weeds from coming up. And I'm going to mention something about that real quick. Uh, I I'm growing an organic garden. So when you grow an organic garden, you can't use pressurized wood. Pressure treated
Mm-hmm.
wood, that leaches chemicals that they utilize in the wood, leaches into the soil. You know, even the fabric that you put on the landscape to block the weeds, you have to buy a natural organic non-toxic one as well, because that will also leak. So you got to be very specific in what you use. Your fertilizer's got to be organic, and you have to watch what possibly could contaminate that. So I had the setting, I had the netting, and I had the regular metal poles. And I said, okay, we got an area we're going to work. And I saw something on social media very similar to what you see that I have. If you have the pictures displayed, what you see that I built, I saw something almost identical, and I was like, I got to do that, you know. And I just started, and I couldn't stop. And I started with transplanting the plants, and I was explaining certain things to my wife about uh, as far as fertilizing. See, we started late, and what I'm trying to say is it's really simple. You can Google your way into a beautiful garden. It's not a difficult task. You just have to isolate your little spot, know what you want to grow, and then you have to figure out small things, the type of soil, uh, pretty much any soil, but it has to be fertilized. It has to be minerally rich. A lot of the foods that we eat, because of the high production that we see in a grocery store and feeding people, a lot of this stuff is grown minerally deficient. And most of our illnesses are based on us being minerally deficient. So, and the more I read about it, the more I'm like, man, I walk into a supermarket and I feel like I'm in a death camp. You know
Right.
that they want to. Everything in here is GMO, all chemicals, and there's an app that everyone should get called Yuka, Yuka, and it's a carrot they show. And that app, man, some of our favorite foods or something. My wife and I be in a supermarket. And I said, "Oh, I want to get." We see something that looks good. She said, "Don't pull out the app. You pull out the app, it's over." You hit that with that app, and you see they break down the additives, the chemicals, what they do affect your DNA. I mean, it's really
Wow.
crazy. Uh, and so many foods. They said this isn't natural to the earth. A lot of the flavorings and dyes, and so they're really, when Pharaoh said, "Let's deal wisely with them," they are seriously killing us, and just putting it, and we're paying for it, and we're paying for it. So, so one of the things I wanted to explain about, I started late. We started. I think the first picture you might have saw was in mid, almost mid June, early June. A lot of the things that should have been in maybe April or March, and I started late. So I knew something about the fertilizers. Uh, Maybe you can display this picture I sent. I don't know if you have it about the fertilizer. There's usually three numbers on fertilizers. The three numbers on the fertilizers represent three different nutrients that a plant needs. The first set of numbers is for nitrogen. The second set of numbers is for phosphorus, and the third set of numbers is for potassium, or they call potash. The nitrogen, what that does to the plant is it gives it the power to grow and it keeps it green. If anyone has lawns, you see when your lawn is very green and it starts fading out, it's not necessarily burning. The sun takes a toll on it, and the more that it has to, the more energy it expends on surviving the toll, which is specifically late June, July, and August. Anything you plant in the new year, especially grass, most people don't realize it has to overcome the mountain of August and July, which is extreme heat and
Mm-hmm.
drought. And it takes a lot of nutrients. And if you have a new plant and you're watering it, sometimes it may catch a fungus or something to that nature, because you're overwatering it. One thing you can't do, and a lot of people do, is water at night.
Right, right.
That's how you build funguses on your plants. You got to water early in the day, and you got to try to keep it off the leaves. I failed to express that, so we got a little white powdery mildew, which is it's a white powdery that comes across the leaves of our a squash, and that can help. That can affect the it processing sunlight. I'll just say it like that. The big words. I don't have that fine education, but I see it as simple. It's the it's called photosynthesis, I believe it is, but it's how it gets its energy from the sun, and that's why it's green. The chlorophyll is green, and when it gets that fungus, it's white. Anybody who's grown plants might have seen it. It affects that process. So so what I did was I got these plants in. I built this box. You know, um, I got elaborate with it. You don't have to you could put it right in the ground. You just have to make sure. I did add soil. I put I put peat moss in, organic peat moss, to loosen up the soil that was. But because my mother-in-law was already, she had her own little compost section. I had some real nice black soil that was real rich, a lot of worms. So I mixed it with that, some peat moss. I bought some manure. Now, people who are not familiar, I'm saying cow manure. Don't get grossed out. It's already it's already compost, and it looks just like the regular dirt of peat moss. It's not looking nasty like you would think it is when someone
Right.
says manure, right? But it's everything goes back to the earth. Everything goes back to the earth. I won't even tell you the stories of when I was younger and I buried in my garden just to get it. I don't want to go
Brother Eric,
somewhere.
did you build those beds yourself?
Yeah, did I do what?
Did you build the beds yourself?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. My wife and my mother-in-law might have held something up for me while I put the screws in here and there, but I actually did. Let me tell you something. Your brother almost lost it with this one. I started one day, and I was just in this zone, and I went and rented a truck for $19 from Home Depot, bought a bunch of lumber. Now, it was during a heat wave. It was like
Oh,
100 degrees, and I had on jeans. When your jeans get soaking wet, you've been sweating. I caught a little heat exhaustion. It put me back for about 2 weeks, but I was caught. I got right back into it. I actually still have to finish closing it in with the wood, and then once they have chemicals that I can preserve the wood with that won't leak into the beds, especially the upper portions of it. But I don't mind if I have to change it out in a few years or whatever. But you want to keep it as pure as possible. The more you inform yourself about your intake, and the more critical it gets to making sure you're trying to, like, man, listen, I'm trying to eat right. You know, how
Trying
to
to
eat to live.
live.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
listen, how to eat to live is essential, but you got to
Absolutely.
identify the toxins. You know, I remember when I was a younger Muslim, I'm thinking I'm doing the right thing, and I didn't realize I didn't know nothing about GMOs and all the chemicals and the stripping of all, the nutrients. They tell you to stay away from salt, but your stomach can't even make stomach acid without salt. But they strip the salt from the minerals. So without the minerals in the salt has an adverse effect to you, you know. But with the minerals, it balances out. But when it's stripped, so now I'm on Celtic salt. I was on high blood pressure medicine for a few. I totally got off of it, and my
How did you
my
do
blood
that?
uh, by educating myself on what I thought was raising my pressure. You know, being minerally deficient will also, that causes a lot of problems. They tell us if your cholesterol, which I haven't eaten meat since 1989. I think I stopped eating meat.
Right.
And when they told me for the first time in my life about 2 years ago, I had high cholesterol. I said, "What?" I said, "I barely eat dairy and I don't eat meat." Said it must be
Right.
hereditary. I was like, "Man, I ain't taking that." I didn't take the medicine, and I said something's wrong. But I did a little research, finding out that I had a heart episode, and it wasn't due to heart disease. It was due to me thinking I was 30, and I was running, doing some workout, which I couldn't, and it did, and I didn't know, like, till 2 weeks. I lost a bet with my wife because she was concerned about my blood pressure. And after the pandemic, I realized, and this is what really pushed me into. It's been a few years coming, but I got it now. But after the pandemic, I lost, because I'm up in age, I really felt the fall off. So I went to work, started working again, and I said, man, I got weak. So as I was getting stronger, how brothers talk smack. I'm telling my wife, "Oh man, I ran up the stairs at the subway thing. I'm good." She says, "Yeah, but what's your blood pressure look like?" I said,
Right.
she said, I said, "I tell you what, if we go home tonight and my blood pressure's high, I said I will go to the emergency room, and I know how to get through triage, and I'll take the medication and I'll work my way off it." And my blood pressure was high. I was walking around like 190 over 100. Sometimes, I would
Wow.
eat like 200. So yeah, I was a walking stroke and didn't even realize it. So when I went to the emergency room, and I don't want to get off track of this, where I mentioned it, but this is all about health and why the
We
importance of
gotta show
growing this
them
food.
pictures too.
Huh?
I said we gotta show the pictures too, because we want to see what you did to, I guess get off some of that
Okay,
balance.
okay. You can do that, or I know you want me to finish this story real quick.
Yes, yes,
Please,
sir.
please,
No,
yes.
so what happened was, I told them, I just gave them a bunch of stories to get me right in. So they checked me out. The the EKG's good, everything's good. They said your blood pressure's high. So I'm okay. Let me get a prescription for some medicine. But when my blood work came back, they looked at me. I heard the dude behind the corner say, "Yeah, he got insurance."
Oh
I
no.
said, "Oh, they about to get me for my paper. Here they go." So my troponin is an enzyme the heart gives off when it's stressed or injured. That's how they detect if you have some kind of heart episode or a heart attack. So the only amount allowed in your bloodstream is 0.04. Mine was 0.29. So I
Wow.
evidently had, and then they kept me. So 12 hours later, it was 0.21. So the fact that it was declining, it takes 4 to 6 hours to show in your blood, but it could take up to 10 days to decline. Mine was already declining. So I said this to say sometimes we have episodes and we don't even know or even get it checked out. But testing showed that my arteries were all clear. I didn't have heart disease. Cardiologist said, "It's your blood pressure, that's causing you these symptoms." He said, "But it's unusual that," your arteries are all clean. Um, so I said that to say, I started studying over the years, and here I'm 61 now, and I'm like, I'm just learning stuff like yesterday in reference to, the foods we consume. Now I eat everything. As you can see in the pictures, we grow. I got ginger. I didn't get a
Wow.
chance to get a lot of things. One of those pictures you can see coming up, we got ginger, we got
Yes.
rosemary, thyme, oregano. As far as the herbs are concerned, we got peppermint. The foods that most of the plants that we have, it came about. I have butternut squash. I make the pies, Sister Matt. I don't know if you remember
Oh
that.
yeah,
So,
I
well, my wife makes, so there you
do.
go. And so we
Okay.
use but she makes some serious butternut dishes. But I feel good about it because I know we grew it, and I know it's minerally
Right,
rich because I'm
right.
because I'm juicing them up.
Okay.
I got
Yes,
my
sir.
plants juiced up organically. So I,
Right.
so to make this quick, to go back how I started, the plants that started out, because I replanted them and it was a little late, and I did buy a couple of extra peppers because I try to get what we like to
Mhm.
what we eat, you know. Um, so what I did, manipulating those organic fertilizers, I kind of hit it off. I jokingly say I cracked up my plants with nitrogen, and that nitrogen is that first number. That's going to force it to grow. I got two pepper plants look like tree trunks because I forced it to grow and it keeps it green. But what you do when you do that, you jeopardize it flowering and producing fruit. But because I started late, I wanted them to get big so that they could weather July and August and be strong. So then I hit it off with um, the phosphorus, which is the second number. That's for roots, root growth and strength, and for flowering. And the last one, potassium, the last number on your fertilizer when you buy it is for basically overall metabolism, but it helps to ward off against drought diseases. So I kind of like finesse and I buy them individually because I get high concentrations. That's why I say I cracked them out, but it produced a lot, and and it and it worked. Partner, see, New Yorkers always got to come and relate to drugs, right?
Yes, sir.
I'm
And,
sorry,
and
but
yes, sir. And we are going to, Sister Melody dropped off. I'm sure she'll try to get back in. And I just want to
okay.
take a quick moment to give the greetings to everyone who's joined us. I see you all giving us the greetings. So, wa alaikum salam, and thank you all for joining us.
Walaikum
Our
salam.
guest today, yes, is Brother Eric. And listen, we're going to jump into these fascinating pictures. So let's go back to that first picture because Brother Eric, this is what you built, right?
Right, but if you go back, there's other pictures where you see my wife laying out the fabric on the ground. That's how it
Right.
started.
Okay, yeah, we're going to go through
Yeah,
all of the pictures. But this is
and that's it.
absolutely
That's
fascinating.
incomplete. Yeah,
This is,
thank
yeah,
you.
I know we've got the other pictures too, but this is absolutely fascinating and beautiful. And I really wanted to know, have you developed a blueprint? Because this is a wonderful layout.
No, if you listen to one of the videos, I saw this on social media. I already had my layout, which was 12 by 24. That was my layout area, and I expanded it. It's still 24 feet long, but I took on a couple of extra feet when I put on the lumber. So it's like 14 by 24. I didn't have any blueprint. I told you I had it broke. The only blueprint I had was 24 by 12. And
Mhm.
I was undecided because I had to close it in because we have deer issues here. Deer,
Right.
chipmunk, the squirrels are not as bad. They're particular in what they go after. But we have a lot of cherry tomatoes, which the chipmunks. And the way I have it set up in the netting, the chipmunks don't expose themselves like that. So I didn't have to worry about them climbing. I just recently found out we got a groundhog. Um, but he didn't climb either or go under. So, I didn't have a blueprint. I kind of winged. That's why it's so simple for you to do. You cut out a little space that you want, and you got to get the fundamentals. You got to make sure your soil is. it's essential that you make sure your soil is prepared. That's everything.
Right.
Because if
Right.
your soil's not right, then your plant's not going to be right. It's not
Right.
going to produce. You're going to
Brother
get.
Eric,
Yes, ma'am.
we running out of time. I hate to even get to
Go
this
to the
point,
next
but
picture.
we need to know how and are you helping other brothers in particular to build things and do things, or what is your occupation now? Unless this is like your full-time thing, I don't know. But we need help. We need some classes like to show us, how to build things, because gardening is gardening, but we need, of course, to build these infrastructures. And we find that, people that got husbands, that got the skills, they do even better. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, it is some basic carpentry necessary to build this. I mean, to be honest with you, I didn't use those basic skills to do it. I mean, as far as you know, because it's not a type of structure that you're going to go in. I was just really this is constructed to keep deer out and other animals
Right.
and pests. Right. The boxes are very simple. I mean, you can teach somebody that in an hour. It's basic fundamental carpentry, which most people do know. I mean, there may be some brothers have clueless, but they would learn it in a second. It's not difficult, you know. But what you have to really understand is the soil, the nutrients of the soil, the seasons, what you can grow, when you can grow. Um, and there's also some things you need to know. You do have to be a little educated, which isn't, how you plant, what you plant with your plants to help with pests. You have insects, and if it's organic, you can make, look, some cooking oil, uh, dish detergent, and water is a natural insecticidal soap. I use things like that because it is organic. But as far as teaching, brother, people who all they got to do is ask. It's very simple. You don't have to be a master carpenter or anything. Some people don't even need the box. They don't need the boxes. They could do it right in the ground.
That's
Um,
right.
yeah, but it's just organizing. If they have no experience at all, it's just simple organizing. Get it, and somebody can walk them through the first time, and once they get it, it's easy. It's easy. It's not
So
complicated at all. Anyone can do this.
are you doing this full time though, or are you doing it part time?
Right.
No, this is a hobby turned necessity.
Yes.
Yeah, this is hobby turned necessity. I've been retired since 2011. I do
Hmm.
contract work from my career job, but I do contract work. That's why I couldn't come on earlier because I was traveling. However, this is, and now that my wife knows, she learned how to do this now. So, it's like she loves it. She loves coming out before cooking and grabbing something and know she's cooking. Not only she's cooking it, but she helped grew it too.
Yes.
That's
It's
that's
really
an amazing
amazing.
feeling. Yeah.
Yes, it is. And we just have a few minutes, few seconds actually, because we're just going through the pictures because everything is just so amazing and beautiful. Sister Melanie and I were talking about how healthy everything looks as well. But I do want to get to the question because we had one question that came in from the audience. So if we can
Yes.
upload our questions, that's that bag that you were talking about, that nitrogen.
Right. You see the
Yeah,
three numbers. It's
right,
somebody who is doing like I would do. They just bought nitrogen. I see you
right,
can get a higher concentration. This one I believe says 15. Yeah, so I have one that said I think 20. But
right.
15 is good too. But to get it that high, by itself, they usually combined it. So you usually got to buy nitrogen by itself, phosphorus, the middle number by itself, and potassium, the last number by itself, if you want to give high concentrations.
Yes,
Like if
sir.
that's what
Okay,
I
let's go
that's
down. Go ahead. I'm sorry, brother. Eric. We got to go to our questions because what happens is if we
go
go too
ahead.
far over our time, then they
Yeah.
won't show it on
Okay.
the Facebook. So very
Go ahead, hit
quickly,
the
our
question.
question is coming through the question box. How do you keep your bugs off plants? And you answered that question with the soap
Yeah,
and the water.
make your own. Right. You know what? Get one of those quart sprayers. Put a
Right.
2 tablespoons of dish detergent. Dish detergent. A tablespoon of cooking oil, and you could put a teaspoon or a tablespoon of vinegar too, and fill it up with water. And it worked for me. That's a
Very
natural
good.
insecticidal soap.
Very good, very good. And that is our time for today. Brother Eric, you have been awesome on the show. We really have to have you back because you are a wealth of information. Listen, those pictures are so beautiful. We hated to fly through them. So you got to come back again at another time
No
so
problem.
we can really jump into those pictures. But thank
We
you
can do
also
part
for
two.
joining us. Yes, thank you, Brother Eric, for joining us. Thank you, our audience, for joining us. And until next time, and invite you back in to the show next week. We do want to ask you to please support this broadcast, Closing the Gap. It's a lot of shows that are on here, and ours is one of the shows that's on the network. So again, we greet you all in greeting words of peace and paradise. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.